It was one of those perfect summer nights where being outside felt like a crime. The air conditioning in my room was blowing cold and stale air, and through the window, I could see the last of the fireflies blinking their tiny lights out. It was the kind of night that begged for a horror movie marathon. So I settled in with some popcorn, turned off the lights, and opened Netflix. The first movie I put on was a slasher flick from the 80s. I'd seen it a dozen times before, but it never got old. As the opening credits rolled, my phone lit up. It was my friend Sarah. She was part of a group chat we had with 3 other friends. The conversation was titled, "Spill Your Secrets." "Okay, here goes," Sarah wrote, and then she pasted in a link to a website. "Here, it's a website where you can put in your Facebook details and it'll sends you all the data it has on you. It's crazy how much they have." I typed in my details, and within seconds, an email hit my inbox. The subject line, "Read your data is being sent." I clicked on it, and it took me to a Facebook-esque site. There were photos of me and my friends. There were messages between me and my family. There were videos I'd posted. All of it was mine. But how did this site get it? Scrolling down the page, I saw a message. It said, "Please share this link with your friends so they can also retrieve their data." That was when I realized what we had done. My friends and I had somehow created a mass mailing of private data. The site had compiled every Facebook post we'd ever made, every photo, every message, and now it was sending them all to each other. We had meant to use a joke website called Fakebook to satirize how invasive Facebook is, but somehow our posts had been copied over to this other site. Now the only way to stop the chain was to get everyone to click on the link, but once they did, their data would be sent out to everyone else in the group chat. It was like a virus. I raced to type out a message, but my hands were shaking so much I could barely see the screen. "Don't click the link," I wrote. "It's a mistake. Don't click the link. Please don't click the link." Then I sent it to everyone in the group chat, to my parents, my siblings, even my school principal. But it was too late. The damage had been done. The next morning, I woke up to a barrage of texts from people I had unheard from in years. They were all asking the same thing. Why had I sent them a link to their data? Confused, I checked my phone. My friends had all posted a link to their sites too. The messages started pouring in, because they had all clicked the link. I called Sarah. Her phone went to voicemail. I tried the others, but they didn't pick up either. I spent the day in a panic. I imagined my principal reading my deepest, darkest secrets. My parents seeing photos I'd meant for my friends. I tried calling it off, but it was too late. Then I got a call from an unknown number. I hesitated, then picked up. On the other end was a girl I went to middle school with. Her voice was shaking. "Why did you send me that link?" she whispered. "Why did you send me all that?" I told her I didn't, that I'd only sent it to our group chat. "But you did," she cried. "I saw all the messages you sent. You even sent one to my mom. You called her the C word. Why did you do that?" I froze. I hadn't sent that. Someone had changed the messages. Over the next few days, more and more people came forward. Everyone wanted answers. No one believed me when I said I hadn't done it. They all thought I was joking. And the worst part was, I could unprove I was the one who deposted the link. One evening, I was watching the news. A story was playing out that made my blood run cold. A teenage boy had taken his own life after people leaked his private messages. He'd been outed for being gay in a town where no one was accepting. Suddenly, everything clicked. I knew who had posted the link. It was my friend Emma. She was struggling with her sexuality, and she'd used a fake website to vent, to see if any of us would listen. But instead of taking the post down, she'd panicked and sent it to everyone. Then she saw what she had done and deleted the account. I was furious. How could she do something like this without telling me? I found her number and dialed it. She didn't answer. I tried again. but the call went straight to voicemail. I called her a dozen times that night, but she was nowhere to be found. The next morning, I got a call from the police. Emma was missing. I told them I knew she was upset, that she'd been struggling. Then I hung up and went to her house. Her parents answered the door, their faces pale and drawn. They looked at me, their eyes full of accusations. "You know where she is," her mother whispered. "You have to tell us." I shook my head. I didn't know where Emma was. I wished I did. That's when I noticed a piece of paper on the ground. I bent down to pick it up. It was a note. Emma's handwriting was scrawled across it. It read, "I'm sorry. I just wanted to tell someone. I wish you'd listened. Then, I love you." It said at the bottom, Emma had taken her own life. This is a story that makes me very uncomfortable, and if you think this sounds like a horror movie, just wait until the end because the details get so much worse. 4 teenagers were sending emails to their friends through Facebook Messenger. They all lived in the same small town, and they thought it would be funny to trick their friend into thinking he was getting hacked. So they created a list of names from people they knew, including their addresses, phone numbers, and even their passwords. Then they logged into their friend S account and sent a message to everyone on his friend S list. But the message wasn't a harmless prank. It said, "I haven't been honest with you," along with the message. "I'm going to kill you," and then listed the people they could kill next. Obviously, this poor kid was horrified when he realized what they had done. He immediately started getting messages from people he didn't know, asking him why he had sent them a death threat. He tried to tell them it was a prank, but some people didn't believe him. One person even told the police that they had received a credible threat from someone they knew. This poor kid's life was turned upside down because these idiots thought it'd be funny to play a prank on him. But it gets much worse because the kid's parents saw the messages he was receiving and assumed that he had done something terrible to get back at people. They beat him for hours, trying to find out who he had threatened. He told them it was just a prank, but his dad didn't care. He kept beating him until his mom stopped him and dragged him outside to call the cops. The boy had bruises everywhere, and he was taken to the hospital by ambulance, while his parents were arrested. And still, to this day, he doesn't know who did this to him. But thankfully, they were caught on camera. The police were able to track down the 4 kids who had sent out the messages. They had used their real names and addresses, which made it easy to find out who they were. At first, they tried to deny everything. But once the police brought up the security footage of them sending the emails, they cracked. It turns out that one of the boys had gotten into a fight with one of the girls, and she was trying to get back at him. The boy that got beaten up wasn't even involved in the fight, but he became collateral damage. The police searched their houses and found out that they had sent out hundreds of threatening emails, some containing threats of sexual violence. They also had a list of other students they wanted to target. The boy who had gotten beaten up by his father was furious. He wanted revenge, but the police wouldn't let him have it. They arrested the 4 teens and charged them with possession of a prohibited weapon, which is illegal in most states. They also charged them with harassment and making terroristic threats. The judge wasn't having any of it. He sentenced each of the 4 teens to 10 years in prison. It should have been the end of the story there. The boy who got beaten up was finally able to move on with his life. Right? Wrong. 2 years after the incident, the boy was at home alone when he heard a knock at the door. He opened it to find 2 men standing there. They asked him if he was the same kid who had been in the news for getting his friends arrested. When he said yes, they told him that they were there to finish what his dad had started. He let him in and they beat him until he blacked out. When he wakes up, he finds himself in the hospital again. The doctors say that he'll make a full recovery, but he has no memory of how he got there. The police are called in and they find out that the 2 men had posted bail for the 4 teens who are now out of prison. And that's not where it ends. The police never caught the two men who attacked the boy. It's presumed that they left town, but nobody knows for sure. The boy lives in fear every day that they'll come back and finish the job they started. He hasn't been able to sleep without nightmares, and he's always looking over his shoulder. It's not clear if the 4 teens will ever get out of prison, but what is clear is that they ruined this kid's life forever.